In the wake of the deadly shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, many people around the world are looking for a way to move forward. Even though we may have starkly different opinions about what happened, one thing so many of us do agree on is that we need to find a way to try and come together. As part of our Keeping the Faith series, I'd like to bring in Cardinal Blase Cupich of the Archdiocese of Chicago. Cardinal, thank you so much for joining me at this late hour. We need your guidance here. You have long been an advocate for immigrants' rights. What is your reaction to what we have seen from federal agents and the Department of Homeland Security in just the last few days alone?
It's clear that we need to return to the understanding of what human dignity is about. People have to be treated in a humane way. Name calling, referring to people as vermin or animals, garbage, really puts us in a very difficult position in this country because it's based on an understanding that each and every human being has dignity. And so we're going down a path that in many ways is a far distance from who we should be and claim to be as a nation in the world.
Then let's stay on that, because the language so many people in positions of authority are using to talk about others who are not like them, it's almost subhuman, right? When you talk about someone who disagrees with you in a dehumanizing way, we're hearing this language from the highest office, even our president. What does that do to a nation when these things become the norm?
Well, I can tell you what it has done in the past. You know, today we mark Holocaust Remembrance Day. And it's important to recall the terrible tragedy that happened to the many people who were killed simply because of their faith and their traditions. The Holocaust didn't begin when they opened concentration camps. It began with words. And I think that we have to keep that in mind and learn from history that words do matter. And so it is important to call people out. The Holy Father, Pope Leo, said something really very instructive for us in these days. He said that the real crisis we're facing is one of relativism, where we reduce the truth to an opinion or alternative facts. And I think that we need to lean into that insight as well, because we saw actually what happened. And yet there's a narrative out there that's trying to be marketed to the American people that flies in the face of what our eyes told us.
Perhaps we shouldn't call them alternative facts. Perhaps we should call them what they are, sir: lies. New Jersey Cardinal Joseph Tobin has called for the defunding of ICE after these shootings and has said that Americans need to put faith into action. What does putting faith into action look like to you?
Well, it's along the lines of what we've been doing here in Chicago ever since all of this effort for indiscriminate mass deportation began. We have helped those undocumented people to make sure that they have access to legal services, that they also have enough food as we open food pantries. We also provide them for transportation to go to doctors, and we pastor them. I think that is something we have seen our people step up to, and I'm very proud of that. And I know it's happening throughout the country in other areas.
You recently joined Cardinal Tobin and the Archbishop of Washington in a joint statement saying that America's moral role in confronting evil around the world is in question for the first time in decades, thanks to our actions in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Greenland. Explain what you meant, please.
Well, there was a consensus of how world order was going to proceed after the Second World War, where boundaries of countries would be respected, that we would dialogue with other countries in trying to build peace and security and prosperity, and that we would deal with our conflicts in a way not through the use of military force, but by recognizing the rights of nations. But we have turned a corner now where we have an approach to conflict in terms of using military force where might makes right. And so we've stepped away from the consensus that we had since the Second World War. And we need to examine where we're going to go if we don't return to that consensus.
You are joining me tonight from Chicago, Pope Leo's hometown. Pope Leo, who devoted most of his adult life to serving the poor in Latin America. Every pope has a huge role as a world leader, but given his background, given his role right now in this moment that we're in, do you think Pope Leo has an opportunity to be the one to bring us together when humanity is really being damaged?
Well, the Holy Father, I think, has an important position in world leadership, and he surely is stepping up to the plate. We've seen that time and time again. The statement that we crafted quoted a large segment of his speech to the diplomatic corps. And yet, I think also he would say that he can't do it alone. He wants to energize and engage people to take responsibility. I think church leaders, elected leaders, need to take responsibility, but also we need to engage people in what's happening. One of the real problems we have right now, the mess we're in, is because elected leaders have not taken the responsibility and enacted significant immigration reform. I think that has to be the top agenda in this year as we have a public debate about leaders being chosen.
Then what can we do as individuals, right? We cannot agree on everything, but what can we start doing to bridge the divide?
Well, we're in a democracy, so I think people need to make sure they tell their elected leaders where they want to go as a nation. Let's make sure that people are engaged in this moment, that we don't just sit on our hands and leave it to someone else. I think we also need to step forward in supporting those whose voices are diminished because they're demeaned or they're disparaged, to make sure that we support those whose voice is being muted, and I think all of that is something that is a part of the responsibility of every citizen.